The quiet kid. Everyone underestimated. Have you ever been in a room full of people and still felt invisible? Have you ever had something to say, but the moment passed before you could say it? In a busy classroom at St. Joseph Primary School, there was a boy named Malik. Malik was quiet, not because he had nothing to say, but because his thoughts moved differently. While others spoke quickly, raising their hands before the question was even finished, Malik would sit still, listening, thinking, processing every word carefully. But in a world that moved fast, quiet often looked like nothing. Malik, you need to participate more, his teacher would say. You have to speak up. The other students didn't notice him much, and when they did, it wasn't for anything important. He never talks. Does he even know the answers? Maybe he just doesn't understand. Malik heard it all. He just didn't respond. Not because he couldn't, but because speaking felt like stepping into a storm. So instead, he did something else. He observed. He noticed things others missed. The way a problem could be solved differently, the patterns in numbers, the connections between ideas. And every day when he got home, he wrote. In a small notebook hidden beneath his bed, Malik filled pages with thoughts, ideas, solutions, stories, things he never said out loud. One afternoon, the class was given a challenge. I want each of you to come up with a solution, the teacher said, to help improve something in our school. The room filled with noise, ideas shouted across desks, hands raised quickly, voices competing to be heard. Malik stayed quiet, not because he didn't have an idea, but because his idea wasn't ready yet. He needed time. That evening, sitting by the window, Malik opened his notebook, and he began to write. He thought about the crowded classroom, the noise, the students who struggled to focus, and slowly, carefully, he designed something, a simple system, quiet corners, rotating study spaces, a way for students to learn in a way that suited them best. Every detail made sense, every idea connected. The next day, presentations began. Students stood confidently at the front, sharing their ideas loudly. Some were good, some were rushed, some were unfinished. Malik sat in his seat, notebook closed, heart beating fast. Malik, the teacher said, would you like to share yours? The room turned, eyes on him, waiting. For a moment, he almost said no. But then, he remembered something. Not everyone who speaks loudly is heard, and not everyone who is quiet is invisible. Slowly, Malik stood up. He walked to the front of the class, his hands slightly trembling, but his mind steady. He opened his notebook. My idea, he began softly, is to create spaces where students can learn in different ways. At first, the room was restless. Some students whispered, some looked away. But Malik kept going. He explained, carefully, clearly, thoughtfully. And something began to change. The whispers stopped. The room grew still. Because what he was saying made sense. More than sense. It mattered. By the time he finished, the room was silent. Not because they weren't listening, but because they were. And then, everyone clapped. The teacher came to shake him, saying, well done. Malik stood there, frozen for a moment. Not used to this, not used to being seen. The teacher smiled. This, she said, is what happens when we take the time to listen. She looked around the room. Quiet doesn't mean empty. She looked back at Malik. Sometimes, it means there's something worth hearing. That day, nothing about Malik changed on the outside. He was still quiet, still thoughtful, still observant, Malik back in his seat. But something changed on the inside. He no longer felt invisible. Because now, he understood something powerful. His voice didn't need to be loud, to be heard. So the next time you see someone who is quiet, who doesn't rush to speak, who waits, who listens, don't assume they have nothing to say, because sometimes the quietest minds carry the loudest ideas. Different minds don't need fixing, they need understanding. This is Ozzy's Moonlight Tale. If the story stayed with you, don't let the light end here. Subscribe for more moonlit stories. Sleep gently and dream kindly.